Professor, how critical do you think sports and pop culture is in breaking down some of the barriers that remain in our society and certainly have been used in the past to do so?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. I think that we have to figure out what is the role of sport within the context that we live today. In hindsight, it's very clear that Jackie Robinson was our Gandhi. He was the one that exposed black America and white America to nonviolent direct action 10 years before Dr. King ever came on the scene in 1956. Jackie Robinson knew that there were clergy who were training people in their congregations how to behave as fans in the stands when they heard the slurs, when they saw the black cats thrown on the field, when they saw people slide in the second with their spikes up, because they knew that if something broke out in the stands, that it would be even more explosive than anything that Jackie did on the field. So he exposed us to nonviolent direct action. We can see that. We know that Jim Brown and Bill Russell extended that. So today we have the task of figuring out what is the role of sport in terms of advancing the American agenda within the context in which we exist today. And one thing is clear: it has to involve everybody. We have to involve women. We have to involve gays. We have to understand what's happening in that regard. And sport has a role in that regard. That's why it's important what Jason Collins has done. It's important that Quaim Harris came out. It's important that Brittany Griner came out. It's important that Mike Sam came out. If he never plays a down of professional football, it's important because it helps us to move this ball up the field.
Jackie Robinson, Jim Brown, Bill Russell were superstar athletes on the field and icons off the field. Are today's superstar athletes dropping the ball on that legacy in terms of taking it off the field?
You know what? I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's too early to tell. As I go back and look at the history of this thing, every generation, whether we're talking about going back to Jack Johnson, a superstar athlete arose and did some things that were counter to prevailing expectations. Then we have Jesse Owens and Joe Louis. Paul Robeson did things that nobody really expected them to do, even though they were only honored in many ways internationally, more so than at home. Then Jackie Robinson came along. Then the two most transformative athletes of their generation, Bill Russell and Jim Brown, who bridged the gap between Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali, between Jesse Owens and Tommy Smith and John Carlos, between Jackie Robinson and Kurt Flood, came along and advanced the ball again. But the thing that I've always noticed in every single case is that nobody saw them coming. Not our best sociological minds, not our best political and analytical minds. Nobody saw them coming. But when they arrived, they were right on time. So when you ask me, are these athletes dropping the ball? Well, the fact that we can't see these people coming in terms of that leadership role doesn't mean that they're not on their way.
Finally, do you think the dollars in sports today, especially in the big pro sports, in any way inhibits people from speaking out on other issues for fear of alienating potential members of their audience?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of fearing for alienating potential members, alienating potential members of their audience. I think they are concerned about what their endorsements will look like after this. Will they lose that $50 million 5-year contract that they have with this shoe company or that car company or that electronics company and so forth? And I think that that's a prime concern. But look, let's face it. Jim Brown and Bill Russell may not have had those millions to put on the line, but they put something even greater on the line. They put everything on the line. And so I'm encouraged that the money won't substantially eliminate that leadership potentiality because I have seen men and women who put everything on the line. And once you put everything on the line, the numbers don't matter.
But just in this context, then, should the onus then be on the advertisers to assist the athletes who are in the position and let them know, hey, the advertising dollars are still there if you need to say what's on your mind?
Well, I'm a whole lot less optimistic about the advertisers and the corporate interest who these athletes hold so many sponsorships for that they will step up to the plate and do that because they're in business. They're in the business of making money. They're not in the business of social change. They're not in the business of restructuring the pay scales for women versus men. They're in the business of making money. And whatever makes money is what they're going to be behind, and they know that people who are not progressive buy gym shoes too. So that I think that's where that is. I think it always comes down to that person who decides that it is time for me to move, because if not me, then who? And if not now, despite the money and everything that I have on the line, then when?